Ladies and gentlemen, football season is 3 weeks away. I'm absolutely buzzing for football season. Absolutely cannot wait for it. And we're starting to see all these best 22s and sort of analysis of lists coming together as we get closer to the season. So I thought today I'm going to rank every AFL club's list heading into season 2025. I want to see you guys get in the comments and see where you would rank these teams based on these 5 categories. All set is the top category. Very good is second. Getting there is third. List in transition is fourth. And way off is fifth. So let's start off with the Adelaide Crows, who I think are truly getting there, if not on the verge of very good. Looking at some of their new recruits on my notes here, Isaac Cumming, Alex Neil-Bullen, James Peatling is a massive pickup, and Sid Draper in the draft. To go along with guys like Dan Curtin, who's going to have a massive year, Isaac Rank and Jordan Dawson. This is actually probably a very good list. Probably just need to bolster their defensive stocks a little, I believe. But I think forward of centre, they are a very good list. Just need to solidify down back a little bit. I wouldn't say they were very good. When I think very good, I'm thinking top sort of 6. But Adelaide will be pushing for finals this year. I like their list a lot. It is definitely getting there. I suppose we'll round out the bottom side with Richmond, who are absolutely way off at the moment. It's no surprise they're going through a full-scale rebuild. They've just hit the draft massively in the last year, shipped off some of their stars. That's a simple one to get out of the way. Richmond, and for that same point, West Coast, still the 2 bottom teams, nowhere near playing finals as it stands. West Coast probably closer to moving up the ladder than Richmond are, just with some stars in that team still. And, you know, they've got guys like Harley Reid and Ruben Jinby and Elijah Hewitt, who they have already started developing in the past few years, whereas Richmond have really just started cracking into this rebuild. But nevertheless, they're the 2 sinkers at the bottom of the ladder as it stands. I'd say the best list in the AFL right now has got to be the GWS Giants. I don't see a weakness in this side. Their forward line has everything you need, with firepower in Jesse Hogan, Jake Stringer, and Cadman. And then the smalls are as good as it gets. Toby Green, in Brent Daniels, in Darcy Jones, Callum Brown, another one up forward that I missed there, but then down back, Sam Taylor, Lockie Whitfield, Iden, these types, just as solid as they come. Lee Collier, another one on top of that, who's going to continue to develop in 2025. Then the midfielding guys like Tom Green, Callahan, Canelio. They've maybe took a little bit of a hit to their midfield depth by losing Peatling, Taranto, Hopper, and others over the years, but they still got a really strong midfield, rock solid defence, and a really excited forward line. So I'd say they probably would have one of the best lists in the competition. Collingwood, I'm going to say they are a list in transition. Everyone's saying that Collingwood this year, it's a last dance type boom or bust scenario. I think whether you win the flag or not, you're going to have to rebuild massively in the next sort of 6 years. I know you got Nick Dacos, who's going to hold you in good stead every week that you play, but you really haven't hit the draft at all. Like, you got guys like McRae and Ed Allen, but I struggle to think of any other young talent that's coming through. I don't know if Collingwood have what it takes to make that one last push with the aging stars that they have. I don't know if their defense is strong enough for, you know, Dan Houston to show that forward flair that he's been able to show at Port Adelaide as well. I think they're definitely a list in transition. They're in an awkward spot right now. They got the flag a couple of years ago, so they'll be happy with that. But yeah, their list is in a very weird spot. Another team I would say is a list in transition is the Melbourne Football Club, but they're in a bit of a different spot than Collingwood are. I feel like Melbourne have a lot of bright signs for the future. Trent Rivers had a massive year last year. So did guys like Judd McVie, who are maturing at the AFL level. You got young stars coming through like Caleb Windsor. Harvey Langford, I think, was one of the best gets in the draft of any team. Absolute jet. You've still got Gawn, Petrarca, Oliver May, the pillars of that premiership side that are still playing to a pretty high level. But I think they are trying to do a sort of mini rebuild while still having those star players. I don't think they're going to push for a flag in the next couple of years, but their future, you can see the blueprint of it forming. I look at this Hawthorn list and I actually do think they are all set, ready to go after a massive year in 2024 with the additions of Barras and Josh Battle in defence. It allows Blake Hardwick to go forward, or maybe even James Sicily, whatever they want. They've got 2 really good swingmen in that role. Their midfield is set with Lloyd Meek, who was a great breakout player in 2024, hitting it down to the likes of Day, Warple, Newcomb, And then their forward line so exciting with those small forwards and guys like Kao Shadir, who showed really promising signs at the end of last year. They're probably just that real, true FU key forward away. But I back guys like Kao Shadir and Marvior Chol just to be able to play that role and then allow the elite small forwards around them to go to work as well. So I'd actually say Hawthorn are all set and ready to go for a flag again. Very good. I would say Port Adelaide have a very good list, but they're not quite all set, particularly after losing guys like Dan Houston and some of the injuries that they've had in the off-season with like Todd Marshall, Big Sav, Zerk. These guys, that will hurt them in the early parts of the year, but their midfield's as good as it gets. Their forward line's really exciting. I think down back they're pretty solid as well. They can get some of these guys back from injury. I'm not sure what their timelines are looking like, but I wouldn't say Port are getting there. I think they're sort of where they need to be. I don't think they're a list in transition, so I think Port do have a very good list. I think it's fair to say that North Melbourne are a list in transition as they attempt to climb the ladder. They've gone through that rebuild stage. They're now adding some stars around those young players to guide them through to that next period of their progression. Guys like Darling, Daniels, and Parker in this past off-season. They've got the young stars now. They're still trying to transition from that sort of bottom rung of the ladder side into a side that's competing for the top 8. So I'd say that'd be a list in transition. Another list that's all set, I would say, is the Fremantle Dockers. You guys know I'm a Dockers mad supporter, but I just think we have everything we need at this point. Our back six is rock solid with key defenders in Alex Pearce, Luke Ryan, and Brendan Cox, who we need to see play consistent footy together. We've got young, athletic, fast sort of running backs in Brandon Walker, Jordan Clark, Heath Chapman, those types. Our midfield's as good as it gets with Hayden Young, Sarong, Brayshaw, Luke Jackson hitting it down to him, Sean Darcy when he's fit. Jeremy Sharp was a great pickup last year. Nathan O'Driscoll will come back in on that other wing. And then Amos and Tracy, two really strong and exciting key forwards. Not for the future, but for the now. They've got massive potential. You add Shea Bolton into that mix with great forwards like Switkowski and Frederick. I think we've got everything we need and we're all set to make a charge for the flag. Essendon is a list that I would say is way off heading into 2025. I'm sorry, Essendon fans. I just don't know where your list sort of demographic is at. You don't really have too many established superstars outside of Zach Merritt. I think Sam Durham could make that leap to be, like a B+ type player. Nate Caddy's exciting, but I still just think you got a bunch of sort of C graded players, and I just don't know where that massive growth and that time to sort of take the leap to that next level, I don't know when that's going to come. Maybe this one's a bit harsh and it's easy to just put Essendon in the way off category, but I just don't know where I see your list. I think it could be another bottom 6 finish for the Bombers in 2025. Geelong's list, controversially, I would say is getting there. I feel like it is a list in transition, but they're playing very good. So Geelong are a hard one because they've got so much young talent coming through at the minute. Like those sort of young 20s type players like Ryan Myers, the Henry brothers, Lawson Humphreys, those guys. Tanner Bruin's another one. Bailey Smith's just come in. He's still pretty young. They've got all these players that are going to be absolute guns. And Geelong just know how to get the best out of every single player on their list. So they're always going to play to a good standard. But I still feel like they're a few superstars away from really being not even a contender because they're already contending, but to get back to being that absolute powerhouse. They're probably like a prime Paddy Dangerfield away from being like an all-set club. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these role players are all they need. But I feel like if they can get someone like a Matt Rowell in, or just one more superstar, they would be all set to just jump back in and go again. Don't get me wrong, I think they do have a very strong list, but just guys like Mitch Duncan, like Nevitt, Colin Jasny, I'm just looking at their list right now, Reece Stanley, there's just a few in there that you expect to transition out or just aren't that tip-top elite level as they once were. So I think Geelong, they're getting there, and it won't take them too long to get back up to being a powerhouse. They've got a great culture. I just feel like right now their list isn't as strong as it was a couple years ago. However, there is absolute star potential in here with guys like Maxi Holmes, Sam De Koning. Obviously, Jeremy Cameron is a superstar. Ryan Myers is an absolute jet as well. So, bit of a tough one. Get in the comments down below where you think Geelong's list is at. The Gold Coast Suns are a team I would say are getting there. I think they're out of that sort of rebuild transition-y stage. Their back six is actually extremely solid. Mac Andrews, Sam Collins, Bodie Hewland had a massive year last year. They've added Dan Rioli and John Noble to provide some speed off halfback. And Charlie Ballard has been one of the most solid defenders that just goes under the radar every year. Their midfield set, I think they just lack a little bit in their forward line. They've been playing Sam Day there for pretty much their entire history. Obviously, Ben King can be anything. Just hope for guys like Jed Wall to really kick on, and Leo Lombard, who they took in the draft, to add some firepower to that front half of the field. But I think they've built very well from the back going forward through the middle of the ground. They're getting there, the Suns, definitely. St Kilda are a club that I would say is a list in transition. They've started going to the draft more, and they've got some genuine guns through that method now. Darcy Wilson pretty much looks like a ready-made AFL player already. Nasiah Wanganeen-Miller will be a star player in the competition. They added some high-end talent through the draft this year, and guys like Liam Henry, if you can play some consistent footy, will give them a lot as well. They've got solid players all throughout the park, guys like Callum Wilkie, Jack Steele, guys that you just know what you're going to get out of them, but their list is probably still filled with too many sort of C-plus type players. They've got some young talent coming through, and still some of those established guns like Jack Steele and Callum Wilkie that are going to hold them in good stead, but transition them to that next phase. They're still pretty far off the flag, but they are moving in the right direction, so I'd say the Saints are a list in transition. Carlton's list, I would say, is very good. This might ruffle some feathers. I just feel like as soon as injuries hit, Carlton's squad depth is really tested. The spine of Wiedering, McGovern when he's fit, but Cripps, Curnow, Mackay is great. De Koning, Chera, and Walsh around that midfield are as good as it gets in the comp when they are fit, but we haven't really seen Chera, Walsh, and Cripps play a full season of footy together. The addition of Jagger Smith, I think, is going to be massive for them to get some speed through the middle of the ground, some continuity in that midfield if Sam Walsh or Adam Chera go out through injury, because they have missed a lot of footy. I just don't think their sort of key back stocks are really that great at the moment. Carlton, obviously, you got Wiedering, but when he goes down, like, where do you go to from there? I'm not sure. Nevertheless, though, you've got a two-time Brownlow medalist, Coleman medalist in that front half, Wiedering, who's one of the best defenders in the comp, and just a lot of excitement. Some great small type players, like guys like Adam Sard, running off half back, Zach Williams, who will look to play forward in 2025. Maybe you don't need all the superstars to go all the way to a flag, but I do still think that there is improvement to be had in Carlton's list. I feel like they'll need to strengthen in some areas if they are to make a push for the flag again. Brisbane, you've got to say, are all set after coming off the flag. The only real void that they will need to fill is the Danaher void. But maybe Logan Morris plays a big role there next year. Charlie Cameron might step up to the plate. They'll get a lot of guys back from injury from last season. You got to remember that Kadeen Coleman was one of the best players on grand final day a couple years ago, and then he was out for the season after doing an ACL. Superstar talent in the Ashcroft brothers, Lockie Neal, Dunkley's an absolute jet. Cam Rayner is becoming a star of the competition now. They didn't get much of a break, obviously playing late into September, and the seasons are starting earlier every year, but they've got all the personnel there, as they showed in the last game of competitive football, that they are set to go again. The Swans, I would say, have a very good list. I know that might come across as controversial. They've got a great midfield, but their back six, I'm not 100% sure on, other than Tom McCartan, who's been a rock-solid pillar down there for years. They've got a lot of talent in that back line, like guys like Blakey that can break lines and run forward, but they were quite easy to score against at times last year. Port Adelaide absolutely put it on them, and so did the Lions in finals. So they're probably just a couple of key defender assets away from being rock solid defensively. They are a stacked list, but I just think the fact that they've been exposed a couple of times means that they aren't maybe all set as they thought they were. That leaves the last team, the Western Bulldogs. I'm struggling to think of where to put them. Obviously, Marcus Bontempelli has them in a very good position every time he runs out on the park. Forward of the ball, they're very exciting. If Jamara can come back and hopefully play early in the season, that would be great for them. Sam Darcy is a massive talent. Norton needs to step up. I think, guys like Waitman in that forward line has them in good stead forward of the ball. Behind the ball, I'm not too sure. And then their midfield's rock solid. So it is tough. Don't think they're going to push for a flag. And I'm too hesitant to say that they've got a very good list. So I think a couple of additions in the back half and they will be there. So I'm just going to put the Dogs in getting there. That was actually a tough video to make. I want you guys to get in the comments and categorize every AFL list. get down below and have your say. The content creator predictions and the ladder predictions will be coming out in the next few weeks in the lead up to football season. I'm absolutely buzzing that football is just around the corner so I can get some normality back into my life. Leave a like on the video to support the channel and subscribe if you're new for more exciting AFL content to come out throughout the season. I appreciate you watching and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, you plonkers.